Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Today, we're going to be looking at a few developments with Tom Clancy's The Division 2. So, holiday is over for the team of Massive, and I basically looked at this from one of the developers' posts on Twitter, and I think he's a game engine developer. I think his name is Olafur Wage. I think that's how you say his name. I don't know if he's a game engine developer per se, but I know he's one of the back-end programmers in the studio. And for those of you who know, Massive is still going to be ramping up development on their projects, and the only thing that we know of right now are a few steps that they've announced. For sure, we know that they've announced the Avatar project, which was something they did in 2017, and I'm sure is being worked on, being fleshed out, probably top secret. And they also promised to unlock the frame rates for the Division 2 on the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and Series X. So these are the things that we know that they're working on and anticipating to do to build those kinds of things in terms of unlocking the game. You have to kind of test it out. You got to check it out, make sure it's got good fidelity, and you got to then make sure that it's well done before deployment. So I'm thinking they probably have been working on this since Yannick announced it last year, or maybe putting finishing touches, but it's still really interesting. Now, I know with the Avatar project, many may have snared at this project and said, who cares about an Avatar game? I've seen the comments actually on YouTube here on my channel, or nobody wants an Avatar game. Why are they making this? The truth is, a lot of games that have been snared at versus games that have been anticipated, we've seen some sort of a weird conundrum between those two paradigms. And the reason I say that is because Cyberpunk 2077 was a very anticipated game, yet the game did not meet the expectations. In fact, I would say it outright, the game failed, because it did not even run on consoles. And I remember the Division 2 getting eaten alive for having console problems. And now we're seeing that the PlayStation 4 machine was just a poor hardware to be able to run games of these magnitudes. Now, they finally got to the place where they got the game functional after a lot of work, I'm guessing. But at the end of the day, I don't know what else could have been done. Perhaps they could have delayed the game, which I think it's probably the smartest thing to have done, to delay the game to get it working on the PlayStation 4. But I mean, in hindsight, we can say that was the big screw up that Massive had. But as it stands, they've been able to at least resolve a lot of the issues till now. Cyberpunk 2077, on the other hand, we're still awaiting some level, of, I would say, updates regarding their PlayStation 4 version of the game. Now, that being said, if you think about the ramping up, we also are looking forward to the unlocking of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X versions of the Division 2. This is something that some people are going to be looking forward to. I've seen some sentiment as well. Some people have said, well, what am I going to do? Play the game again in 60 frames per second? That's exactly what you're going to do. What are you talking about? People move from the Division 2 from console to PC, and that's exactly what they do. So yeah, it might seem a little snobbish for people to go in that direction, but at the end of the day, it's the one game that many people have spent hours on. It's the one game that brings a lot of people back, so I can envision more people kind of coming in to at least check that out. Now, the big question mark is what will happen pending the release of the Division 3. Is Massive Ubisoft going to basically just hold off without bringing any new content? I would say that's a very huge move if they were to do something like that. I mean, they're not obligated to bring out any new content. I know in the past I've said, they have to bring out a year 3 because that's a big, huge marketing ploy. But the more games start to get postponed, the more games start to showcase how difficult they are, like Outriders getting postponed from December to February to April. It's getting more and more likely that we're going to see, a Division 3 announcement and basically maybe more seasons and more global events until we wind down into the announcement of the Division 3. I genuinely think so. If nothing else, the Division might be bringing out a single player game that's most likely not going to have too many of the elements. Going to be maybe some sort of a spin-off, and then maybe they might attach a multiplayer to it later down the road. I mean, these are just possibilities, and I think perhaps maybe ease of execution, they might go this direction. Unless they've already been working on a full-fledged Division 3 game that has the same mechanics and has the same systems and same style of the Division 1 and the Division 2. And the reality is many, agents right now are just waiting. They're, they're expressing their sentiments. Some have said, I will never buy a Division 3. Some are, saying if it's like Division 1, I'll buy it. And, all kinds of different sentiments. But at the end of the day, you won't know until you kind of start to see the product. And so I'm of the mind that, right now they're on the ground working on something. And I believe that they're going to deliver it on time. The reason I believe so is because architecture is already there. And I'll tell you basically Ubisoft's, formula. Their formula is very, very simple. Now, it's not necessarily easy. I would just say they have a much more simplified formula, which is to make games that players basically appreciate playing and continue to make them. So that's why you have 20-something Assassin's Creed games. That's why you have multiple Tom Clancy games. That's why you've had 2 Division games basically in less than 4 years. If you think about it, 2016 and 2019, that's how short of a period it was. And if you think about 2019 and you go back and look at maybe even that same window, you're looking at a 2021 release if they follow their pattern there at Ubisoft. Another thing too is we've all kind of judged the I would say importance of Avatar, the game. Now, to be very honest, I really don't know, if we're actually evaluating something that I saw on Ubisoft's earning call. And that is the fact that Ubisoft touted something that really caught my attention. They showcased a lot of their games and juxtaposed it with their competitors, EA and Activision. And they said that they themselves own most of their own IPs. They own the rights to their IPs, which makes sure that they're more profitable because a lot of those profits basically goes to them because they don't have to pay royalties. Whereas companies like EA owning or, having some partial rights to make video games for games like Star Wars, FIFA, actually does take a huge chunk out of their pockets. Now, FIFA, they probably don't feel it because that's a golden goose, but with Star Wars, definitely that's probably not as profitable like, say, they owned the IP, which is really funny because they didn't do a Dragon Age game all these years, and they also flopped hard on Anthem. Rather than actually develop these IPs to be not only, just IPs that are out there, they missed the opportunity to make these IPs their own established IPs. So I think EA actually has gotten a huge setback in the last few years, and Ubisoft and Activision have made more headway than we would even think to imagine, just because of the way, they've been able to continue to pull out and hedge their own investments in their own games. So this is quite interesting and a little bit of a difference from what people basically perceive about these studios. I'm of the mind that, we're going to be seeing a Division 3 game just because a company like this has decided to basically stand and, make its strong points stronger. However the fans may feel, I think they're working their way to fine-tuning the franchise to be able to get it to exactly where it is that they want. And I know people might say, well, we don't need a Division 3 game. Oh, they're not going to listen and all that stuff. But then think about their competitor, Activision, who has made, 16 Call of Duty games? If there's 16 Call of Duty games, I am not upset about a 3rd Division game at all. In fact, a 5th Division game will probably not trouble me. And that's just my mindset because I'm looking at the way these other gaming companies are putting pressure on one another. And that's basically what I'm weighing Ubisoft and Massive and their other studios by. They're most likely going to be responding and being competitive, trying to gain new audiences, and also serving their hardcore player base. This is how I think it's going to go. So this year is going to be interesting. We're going to be looking forward to what's going to be coming in terms of game development. We're going to be looking at Outriders, looking at what exactly is going on. They're bringing a demo, so we'll test it out and we'll see exactly what it is. But until then, we'll be jamming out with Tom Clancy The Division. Thank you so much for your time and audience. Hopefully we'll see in another video. Let me hear your thoughts as well in the comment section. You guys know exactly what to do, and hopefully we'll see again. Peace out.